Udoka.
Yeah.
It's a good move. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive. Yeah, we're here. Presented by No House Advantage, of course. Dave Loughran at Loughran_D on Twitter. Joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Breaking down a little two-game action here today. How you feeling, man? Happy Monday.
Yeah, it feels like Monday, but no, I'm happy. We have a bunch of baseball today. We got two basketball games. Not likely to be the two best games, but one of them should be good. So yeah, looking forward to it. It should be a fun night of sports.
I was telling Josh this morning that I was in an odd way, like hoping that Giannis maybe missed today. They go down 3-1 and then they have to rally back and you get a great game 7.
I mean, I have a bet with someone that the Celtics make it out of the second round. So I would love for Miami to just win.
That's what I'm sure you would. Yeah. Isn't it funny though, how the Sixers in the 3 seed got the easiest matchup of anybody? Like they by far just could coast against the Brooklyn Nets, who somehow maintained the 6 seed even without KD and Irving.
Right. And yeah, I guess never mind. The Bucks play the Sixers regardless, don't they?
I thought it was the Celtics.
I mean, the Celtics play the Sixers regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I have the Celtics. So yeah, never mind. I take that back.
Oh, you're saying second round. Got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So the Celtics wouldn't face the Bucks until the
finals.
Conference finals. Yeah. Man, how about the fact, you lost Giannis for a couple games. You lost Joel Embiid, and now he's either not going to be back to start the next series, or he's going to be at 50%, as Doc Rivers said. Apparently he can predict the future.
Doc Rivers is also a known liar. You know that.
That's what I'm saying. So nobody has any idea. You lost Tyler Hero first, unless they were to make a super deep run, maybe he could be back, but that seems unlikely. Who else did we lose? We lost John Morant for a game plus, and
Fox now possibly.
Exactly. Now De'Aaron Fox is going to be listed as doubtful in a pivotal game 5 with a broken, is it index finger on his?
Yeah, he broke the tip of the index finger on his shooting hand.
That's got to hurt so bad, man.
Yeah. And I was talking about it with Josh because as soon as I saw there was a broken finger, I was like, he's going to try and play through it. And then Shams is like, there's hope that he can play through it, but he's listed as doubtful. But like Josh had a good point too. Like I'm sure he wants to, and he might try to, but like that's something that's legitimately likely to affect how effective you are, and also like, what you're able to do on the floor.
The only problem is if it's broken and you're doubtful, what difference does it make in game 6 or 7?
What do you mean?
I'm saying if you're doubtful, but you want to play through it, it's not like, oh, let's give him a day. Let's give him a game off and then bring him back.
Yeah. It's still going to be broken in game 6 and 7.
Yeah. It's still broken. So
right. Yeah. It's still going to be weird for him to shoot. It's going to be hard for him to drive. My counterpoint to Josh was that he could break both of his hands entirely and probably still be better offensively than Davion Mitchell.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah. Fox has been an animal in this series. I think you just got to run him out there and see what happens at this point.
Of course, Sean Dre thinks that Fox needs to stop shooting. The dude's
needs to stop scoring 35 a game.
Right. He said he can stop shooting so much. Yeah. I mean,
I tell you,
he's kind of the only reason that team is in games against Golden State.
Yeah. Sabonis has been okay.
Sabonis has been bad.
Yeah. That's what, I guess I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. De'Aaron Fox has been carrying this team in wins and losses through the first 4 games. But, you just think about it. A broken index finger at the tip of your shooting hand, that's got to be very, very problematic.
Yeah, that's not like a, it's going to get bumped, 15 times. He's going to have to deal with a bunch of pain. But other than that, he'll be all right. Like, that clearly is going to affect everything that you do.
Yeah. Just keep him from getting to the rim, I guess. I don't know. Should be interesting. I assume they play tomorrow, so we'll see. But we got 2 games to talk about. Very happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. We got almost 700 in the house with us right now. Hit the thumbs up. Take a single second. You know the drill here. Chat's already mentioned it. Appreciate you guys. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves of that stench, of that filth. Feel like a better person and atone. Bow down before the YouTube overlords, because if you're hitting that thumbs up, it helps us greatly, helps us keep the lights on. Otherwise, I promise you, I would not even bother to ask. Subscribe to the channel as well. Nice. All right, we're about to jump up over 100 likes. We can live with that out of the gate. We can live with that. A lot of you guys out there, you know the drill, and we're thankful for it. But thank you, Ken atone. We got a lot of people atoning in there. But we've got, 2 games, and I guess it's time to jump into this one. We'll start it off with Milwaukee and Miami. When Josh and I did the show, midway through the show, we got news that Giannis was going to play. So now we at least know what's going on with him. You know, I'm looking at this game, and without Giannis, they could still win. Of course, they knocked down a record-tying 25 threes on 35 attempts in game 2. So not exactly a shock that this team, when they're getting hot from beyond the arc, can light it up. But having Giannis back, totally different dynamic. They went from 6-point favorites, which looked like kind of a hedge line, to 8-point favorites now on the road, down 2-1, going back to Milwaukee after this. Let's just start it off with Giannis. He's 10-4 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 11-9. What are you doing on both sides with Giannis today now that he's presumably good to go?
So my first thought on DraftKings was like, oh my God, that's a cheap salary on Giannis. And it is. I mean, this is like as cheap as you will ever see him. The reason that he's still only getting 26% ownership is that LeBron is 10-2, Davis is 10K flat, Morant's 9,600, Butler's 9,400. So you kind of just have this entire top tier on DraftKings having their salaries slashed by $1,000 to $1,500. It makes it easier to get to them as a whole, but you have to keep that in mind, and you can't just like get locked in on you. Like I already saw somebody in chat saying, you know, you have to play John Morant tonight, which just, you know, ignores 4 or 5 other really good plays. Same thing with Giannis. You know, when you first look at it, it's just like, how do you not play $10,400 Giannis? But it's because if you're just jamming in Giannis, you're getting less of 10K Davis and 10-2 James and those other guys. So it kind of just ends up flattening out the ownership. I know we've talked about that before when we get soft pricing sometimes, that as long as the pricing is soft everywhere, it kind of still works out because you just get pretty flat ownership. It's when you knock you make one guy really, really inexpensive and leave the rest where they're normally priced, which isn't the case here. On FanDuel, you know, Giannis more so in his normal range at 11.9. So there's a bigger gap between him and LeBron, but then Anthony Davis is even more expensive at 12K. So Giannis still is going to look good on FanDuel. It's just difficult to get to him or Giannis when you have a bigger gap between them and, you know, James and Butler and those guys. But on DraftKings, pretty similar ownership coming into all of them. Certainly happy to get to Giannis. He's very, very cheap, but and he's still a better point per minute guy than Giannis or than James and Davis. But the thing is, like, there's a good chance he plays several less minutes than they do, and you're in what's likely to be a slower game.
Israel Williams said, once a man gang stomps you in the chest, it kind of alters your mental state a bit. Look, I was all for Dre getting ejected and even fine with the suspension, but you can't use that as an excuse for why Sabonis hasn't played well. Like, you can't say that he's like rattled now because that happened. I don't think that's a very fair assessment, Adam.
Yeah, Josh was actually just DMing me some Sabonis stuff, just, you know, how kind of bad he's gotten since he broke his thumb in December. But so, I mean, yeah, maybe that's still affecting him. Obviously, he's been garbage defensively always. Yeah.
He also just, De'Aaron Fox is just controlling the ball far more than Sabonis. And if you look at the final few weeks of the season, Sabonis was doing a lot more of that. So I think he takes a hit there. Besides the point, let's get back to the Milwaukee Bucks here. Again, they're 8-point favorites in this game. What's the total sitting at in this one? 218. Nothing like Knicks Cavs. Wes Matthews is out for whatever that's worth. So now that you have Giannis in, and I haven't seen anything about restrictions or whatever as far as playing time goes in a game that they absolutely need to win, can't go down 3-1 in a spot like this. What do you want to do then with guys like Drew and Middleton? We can get to some of these secondary options in a minute. Middleton 7.5, Drew 8,400 on DraftKings. How do we approach those two guys now that Giannis is back in the rotation?
So the pricing is kind of interesting because Middleton's coming in at 7,500 on DraftKings, still makes him look pretty good at that price tag. You know, you expect the production for him to drop with Giannis coming back, but he's still playing plenty of minutes and, you know, still going to be very involved in the offense. So I still think you can get there pretty easily. You can get to Holiday at 8,400 as well, but I don't think that price tag looks nearly as good as the price tag does on Middleton. So prefer getting to Middleton. Think they're both playable in tournaments, but you should see more ownership coming into Middleton. 1.23 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played with Giannis and Drew in the regular season. Keep in mind, a lot of that was coming off the bench, though. Only played 12 games as a starter, still 1.13 DraftKings points per minute, 24.5% usage rate. For Drew Holiday in those games, or in the 54 games he played with Giannis and Middleton this year, 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. So, you still get plenty of upside from both guys, but Middleton should be a little bit easier to get to.
Looking at the projected minutes today that we have over at Stokastic, I want to dive into this a little bit just to get an idea of how we're projecting minutes for these guys, given that Giannis is back and we had seen some players get some additional run as a result. Obviously, you have your Giannis, your Drew, your Middleton, all of that. Brook Lopez projected for 32, Grayson Allen 30. We have Pat Connaughton at 13, Javon Carter at 11, Joe Ingles at 14, and Bobby Portis at 25. Once you get past that, it's not really worth discussing. Are there any guys that we haven't talked about? And if you want to go to Lopez and Grayson Allen, that's fine too. But I think the bench is just an interesting thing to look at here. Whether it's, maybe one of these guys could get the additional run, or all of them are just very underwhelming, because it feels like it's the latter right now.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I mean, it's kind of tough because we haven't seen a full game where Giannis plays. He got hurt in the first half of game one and then didn't play the next two. So it's tough to be overly confident in playing time here, but I think our projections here are pretty much in line with what I would expect. Just not getting enough minutes from Ingles, Connaughton, Carter, Crowder to want to get to any of those guys in DFS. I think Grayson Allen playing around 30 minutes makes sense. Makes him look like a decent value at 4,300. Obviously, he's risky just because he is Grayson Allen. He's far down the pecking order in terms of offensive opportunities go, but he is cheap and the minutes should be there. Portis, I don't think you can really play with Giannis back. You can still play Lopez at 6,100. He does take a hit with Giannis in there, but you should still get north of 30 minutes. So I'm with you. I don't really see anything off the bench.
Jimmy Butler's going to play as expected.
Yeah, it was Jimmy Butler. I don't know what I was expecting.
Yeah, true. Well, it was because Spose just said he was going to return to that game, right? And then the bench somehow maintained that lead. And they were up by like 21 points at the TV timeout. I think it was just, at this point, why would we risk putting him back in there? I think it stands to reason. If that lead got cut to like 12, he probably would have been back in the game. But you're right. You never know what to think with Jimmy Butler. Before we get there, let's just wrap up the Bucks. Brook Lopez and Grayson Allen. Where do these guys stand for you today? Just looking at ownership on them. I don't really. Grayson Allen's at 28% at 4,300. Brook Lopez, 6,100, 19%, 24% optimal. So you've got positive leverage, believe it or not, on both Brook Lopez and Grayson Allen with a 33% optimal score in the boom bust tool.
Yeah, and it just speaks to, relative lack of value, but also just the fact that there are so many pay-up options on a 2-game slate. It's not like you have one. It's not like from a roster construction standpoint, you're talking about, we have questionable value, but if LeBron fails, then you probably win without having those questionable value plays. Some combination of Davis, Morant, Butler, LeBron, Giannis, some combination of these guys are just going to put up big games tonight. And it's going to make it so it's very likely that you need whoever ends up being the best out of these cheap pieces, even if they don't end up doing great on their own. So that's why you're seeing 33% optimal percentage on Allen. I don't think it really speaks much to Grayson Allen. I think it speaks to the lack of value and the abundance of pay-up options.
Talk about the Miami Heat here. Before we do, Pete Warner, shout out to Pete, man. Using the free super chat to say took down 5K on the $4 DK yesterday. Love Team Stokastic. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Congrats. And as you guys know, all of our tools 50% off. Link is down there in the description. The link is in the chat. Everything. You want every sport. You just want one sport. Baseball tools just absolutely murdering. Same with basketball, though. Tom Kennedy, our CEO, just took down. It was like 100, and then he took second in that for 15, and then he had 10 in the other, and third in that for another 5. Ridiculous night. And that was on the heels of our CTO Eddie Lai using the tools, taking down 100. Did he win 100K back-to-back nights, Eddie? Do you know, Adam?
I've lost track of who wins what night.
Yeah, it's getting out of control. You'll see the Stokastic Hall of Fame actually right after this show. I just recorded it with Jordan earlier today. We had 18 slides, dude, 17 slides, something like that. ton of slides, a lot of winners this week. Repping the Stokastic avatar, repping the brand, using the tools. So if you want to get access to the boom bust tool, the ownership projections, player projections, top stack tool for baseball and for any other sport that involves stacking, UFC, you want to get everything for that. NASCAR, PGA, MLB, NHL, NBA, F1, tennis. We got you. A month, a week, however you want to play it, 50% off everything. And if you're someone that's only playing a few bucks a day, maybe you don't have a ton of time, but you love DFS, you're working, you got a busy, demanding life, the lineup generator for your first week is less than $4.50. It'll give you lineups. You can upload the CSV, optimize for mobile. You can lock players in, swap players, do it for cash games or tournaments, however you want to get it set. So all the links down there in the description and in the chat. So check it out. 50% off everything, week, month, one sport, all sport. Yeah. And rep the avatar. You want to just get a free month? Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more with the avatar, stokastic.com/avatar. That's down there too. Just use it wherever you play. It's that simple. Rep the avatar, get in the Hall of Fame, get the free month. Miami Heat, Bam is in, Jimmy Butler's in. So we know that now. That's good. All right. Let's start it off with Jimmy Butler. He was just absolutely torching the Bucks last game before he went down. He's now played limited minutes in back-to-back games. One, because they got shit on by the Bucks. And then the second game because, well, they were blowing the Bucks out. And also he dealt with that injury and went to the locker room. But you have to assume that Butler's minutes, in the event that he's not limited and plays through the game, are going to be massive again. We saw that in some of the play-in games too.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw 43 minutes from him in game one. Yeah. There's no reason to think he's not playing a ton here. You get some level of increased production without Tyler Hero as well. More playmaking available, more shooting available. So, Butler is going to look really good. He is a little bit less expensive than the other pay-up options. 35% ownership here. Decent chance you can get to him plus another pay-up guy as well if you're willing to take on some kind of questionable value plays. But, Butler looks very, very good.
What about Bam today? Where you've got $7,500 Bam Adebayo, or what is he, $7,700 Bam? Yeah, 43% ownership, 40% optimal score. So it's not exactly like he profiles bad at high ownership at this price point. On FanDuel, 7,800, 54% owned. Jimmy Butler's 96 on FanDuel at 57% owned. But Bam Adebayo, you haven't gotten the same version of Bam that we've expected to see, particularly in the postseason, even through the play-in games. I mean, he hasn't eclipsed 40 fantasy points more than once in 5 games. It's not to say that he can't, right? Like, he's still a way +1 fantasy point per minute guy, but shot volume in a lot of these games has been low. It's not like he's really getting to the line. Not a prolific rebounder, but at the same time, at this price on a 2-game slate, do we need to throw all of that in the garbage and just go back to the well?
Sort of. I mean, it's still a pretty fair price tag at 7,700. The one thing I would say that makes it kind of tough to get to Bam is that the way this slate sets up is just, again, even though you don't have a lot of good value, it still sort of sets up as like a stars and scrubs slate in the sense that the inefficient pricing is more so at the top than in the mid-range. So you just don't have a very strong mid-range here. And it's not that difficult to get from Bam up to somebody like Butler that projects quite a bit better, or, even a John Morant type guy. So I think from a roster construction standpoint, Bam might get squeezed out a little bit. That being said, he's getting 44% ownership, so maybe that won't be the case. I'm just kind of surprised that the ownership and the optimal percentage are both that high. It just seems like a spot where maybe he'll get squeezed a little. But if you can get there, great. I mean, in this series, he's still at 1.26 DraftKings points per minute. Obviously, some of that has come without Butler on the floor, whereas tonight you're probably not going to get many minutes at all where Butler's not on the floor, but still producing, at a high rate in this series, has a 29% usage rate so far. So I'm certainly happy to get to him at 7,700 where I can.
Man, FanDuel has 5 starters and a bench player, Kyle Lowry, projected for 33% ownership or higher. FanDuel or DraftKings, you have Bam, you have Kevin Love at 42% right now. We have him at 48% optimal. My God. Butler at 35, Lowry at 30. So there's 4 right there. This team really popular today. And on FanDuel, you're just getting ownership across the board with 6 different players.
Yeah. Easy to get to on FanDuel, obviously. You have also or sorry, no. So you only have center eligibility there for Bam as well, but 7,800 is certainly a good price tag. 9,600 for Butler, basically the same price tags on DraftKings. So again, it's a little bit more favorable on FanDuel. And then you just get a bunch of really, really cheap value options, which you have a lot of guys on DraftKings pulling ownership in that range as well.
All right, outside of Bam and Jimmy, we got to talk about Kevin Love. We got to talk about Kyle Lowry. We'll get into Duncan Robinson, who went off the bench last game. And now you have Victor Oladipo, who's done, right? Maybe forever, potentially forever. We'll see. Hard to say. But with Jimmy Butler or with Victor Oladipo sideline, maybe you see it. Josh was talking about potentially seeing an extremely condensed rotation today. What are you doing with Kevin Love now that Giannis is back in the rotation? What are you doing with Duncan Robinson today, who basically could play 7 minutes or he could play 28 minutes if he gets hot early on?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what the starting lineup looks like here. They moved Kevin Love into the starting lineup in place of Robinson last game. Don't know if they're going to leave him in there with Giannis back or not. If Love goes back to the bench, I assume that means Duncan Robinson is starting. Robinson's 4K. They need shooting. They don't have Hero. Oladipo obviously wasn't contributing to outside shooting anyway, but he's gone as well. I don't know what the starting lineup's going to look like. If Love starts, I assume you're getting like 22 to 24 minutes from him. Even if Robinson comes off the bench, I think it's likely that you're getting mid-20s just because now you don't have Oladipo, you don't have Hero. So I think it's likely you're getting like low to mid-20s off the bench anyway. But if Robinson starts, you certainly could get several more minutes from him. Also, if he's knocking down shots, it becomes a lot easier to leave him out there as well. So with Miami, it just gets sort of tricky because they're running out of backup bodies. Like, you're not going to feel that comfortable giving a bunch of minutes to Robinson or a bunch of minutes to Love. But at the same time, unless you're going to run Hayward Highsmith out there for a bunch of minutes, or go to like Nikola Jovic, which I don't think they are, you're running out of bodies. So like, I think Kyle Lowry plays a lot. I think Vincent plays a lot. Martin and Strus kind of have to play a lot. But it does start to, just solidify at least low 20s minutes for Love and Robinson, I think, as well.
Do you agree with the ownership on him right now? Love's at 42%. Robinson's
that seems really, really aggressive. But it does come back to what we were saying with Grayson Allen. It's not so much that you're expecting great things out of Kevin Love. We only have him projected for 21.5 DraftKings points. It's that you kind of you're very, very likely to just need whoever is the best out of these 4 to 5K players. You're probably going to need a couple of them, whether that is 19 or 20 points, whether it's 24 to 26. Chances are you're just going to get a big enough separation between the top tier guys and the mid range that you just need whatever the best scores are that allowed you to afford those top tier guys. So in that regard, it makes sense to me. Again, clearly we're expecting Love to start also. If he doesn't start, his playing time projection comes down, his ownership comes down, his optimal percentage comes down. But if he starts and you're just expecting him to go out there and play at least 22 minutes or so, because you're simply just needing him to beat like Grayson Allen and Caleb Martin and those guys, he's going to have a very high optimal percentage and should get a lot of ownership.
Any interest in a guy like Max Strus today coming in sub 20% ownership? I mean, he's the type of guy that, he's similar to Robinson outside of he should now have more secure minutes. But, like just for example, you look at the last 3 games. Actually, you look at 4 of the last 5. They played 2 play-in games, and then they played 3 against Milwaukee. Max Strus finished with 3, 8, 4, and 12 points, 17 or fewer DraftKings points in 4 of the 5, right? Super low shot volume. But then once in a while, this guy heats up, similar to Robinson, except again, Robinson's super volatile minutes. Plays 36 minutes, 7 for 12 from 3-point range, 8 for 16 from the field, and Max Strus essentially breaks the slate at 4,600. He's 5,300 today. Range of outcomes is all over the place. What do you make of guys like him?
Like Strus?
Yeah.
I like him here just because the minutes are just getting more and more stable. The issue sort of with him has been that, he can get hot from 3. And if he does, he's going to play a bunch of minutes. But if he doesn't, then you kind of see those minutes disappear. Caleb Martin is frequently in the closing lineup. You had Robinson playing pretty substantial minutes last game. But taking out Oladipo and his, mid to upper teens in minutes just makes it more likely that you're at least getting 28 to 30 minutes from Strus, if not more. we have him projected for 34. I think that's very reasonable because if he's playing remotely well, you could easily get north of that number. If he plays poorly, you're probably still getting around like 28 or something. So 5,300 for Strus, I think is a good price tag. Same goes for Caleb Martin at 5K. He just needs to play a lot of minutes along with Strus. And so, frequently he's been closing games. He played 32 and a half last game. He was in the closing lineup in the first half. Obviously in the second half, we didn't have a closing lineup, but still just can feel a lot more confident in his playing time than you normally can with Hero and Oladipo out.
Anybody else here for Miami that we haven't gotten into?
Nope.
Did we talk about Lowry?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I kind of mentioned that he's going to play a lot, but yeah, 4,900 looks pretty good for him. Vincent also, we didn't talk about specifically. 4,500 for Vincent. 20% ownership coming into Vincent, 29 to 30 coming into Lowry. Both look good. Vincent last game played like 18 minutes. Certainly expect him to play more than that here. Lowry off the bench played 27 and a half. I expect upper 20s at least from Lowry. I think Vincent also likely to play upper 20s. We have them both in for 27 to 28 minutes. I don't have any issue with that.
All right. No stone unturned here. Getting to everything for every game. Let's talk about Memphis and the LA Lakers. Before we do though, shout out to our sponsor, No House Advantage. I know a lot of you guys are already over there. You already know. You get the 100% deposit bonus match up to $100. So you deposit 100, you have 200. You deposit 50, you got 100. Deposit 10, you got 20. Doesn't matter what you deposit. You're getting that doubled up to $100. Not only that, but we've got the Pick'em Pro tool that is off the charts good for No House Advantage, especially given that they've got softer lines, softer odds, or not even odds, softer lines than any traditional sports book. If you're playing against the house, you're just building lineups, essentially parlays with player props, and there's no juice, right? You're not going to see like a minus 120 here and an even money there, and you're not going to see any of that stuff. Everything is just the number. There's no odds attached, the over or the under. You're taking that, you're putting them together, and Josh is doing videos on No House Advantage as well over at OddsShopper for free on the OddsShopper YouTube channel to help you out. We got the Pick'em Pro tool. You got the first match deposit bonus. You're 21xing if you hit all 5 of your picks. 21xing if you go 5 for 5. They just redesigned the entire site too. It looks really good. Everything just a huge step up from what it was before. And all of the tools that you have at your disposal over on Stokastic to help you win here. Now, of course, you have Pick'em format too, where you're playing against the field for cash and you're building lineups with player props. There's no salary cap. It's just the ones you like the most go with the top. They get the most points. The ones you like the least go at the bottom, get the fewest points. You can multi-enter these. They even have a lineup generator built into it over at No House Advantage that you can use for that as well. But yeah, Jordan's got it up on the screen. Just the over or the under when you're playing against the house, 21x when you're hitting 5, 10x or 11x, sorry, when you're hitting 4 of 4, 5x, 3 of 3. You can go down to 2 as well to 3x. So you can play 2, 3, 4, 5 picks, put them together. Multiple sports, doesn't matter, however you want to play it. Check it out. Links in the description and in chat. Get that first match deposit bonus. Use the Pick'em Pro tool over at Stokastic and start 21x and winning some money over at No House Advantage. All right. On to the next one. How about we get to the Memphis Grizzlies today? We'll start, I think, where we have to start, at the top of the ownership here, and we'll dig into the boom bust tool a little bit. Earlier, Santi Aldama was getting a lot of ownership. That has come down, rightfully so. Josh had mentioned, too, on the strategy show that was definitely going to come down. We got Dylan Brooks at 47%, 53% optimal today, 6.6% leverage score. That's got to make everybody feel very good. $4,700 Dylan Brooks. That's an exciting thing to have 50% of him.
Yeah, it just comes back to what we were saying with Grayson Allen. The important thing to keep in mind when you're talking about optimal percentage is that it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with meaning a player is going to do well. And that's, just what I was saying with Grayson Allen. It's the same thing here with Dylan Brooks. It's not saying there's, a 47% chance that Dylan Brooks 6Xs or something. There's not. If you look at the boom percentage for Dylan Brooks, that's the percentage of the time he goes 5X plus 10. It's 8%. So he's not very likely to exceed the salary. It's just a matter of, does he beat out these other shitty 4 to 5K guys? Does he beat Grayson Allen, Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Kyle Lowry? If he beats them, you need him. And then you're also adding on the positional flexibility that you get with him being shooting guard, small forward. That makes it more likely he's optimal. So I think that's the really important thing to keep in mind is it's not optimal percentage isn't saying how likely it is someone's going to do well. It's saying how likely they are to be in the best possible lineup, which in this case, with these cheap guys that all have high optimal percentages, is a function of how good the stars are on this slate, not how good somebody like Dylan Brooks is. So that being said, you're comparing him really to the other guys in his price range, and barring him getting ejected for doing something stupid, he should play a lot of, or, barring foul trouble, he should play a lot of minutes here. Now, either of those things are very possible. He's dealt with some foul trouble in this series. He's gotten ejected for doing something stupid in this series. It certainly could happen again, but assuming it doesn't, he's just going to look like one of the better values at 4,700.
Agreed. It doesn't feel good, but you're right. And then you've got somebody like Xavier Tillman, $5,700. This one really stands out to me because positive leverage on Tillman, only 16% owned, 21% optimal today. And you've seen, I mentioned to Josh this morning, we've seen so many centers already in the postseason. One day their minutes are huge, the next day they aren't, and other days you need them. Like Robert Williams, who would have known that he plays almost 30 yesterday and goes nuts. Kevon Looney playing a ton of minutes, although that was kind of expected just given that he was in foul trouble the one game. Aside from that, he's been getting minutes. But Tillman played 22 in game one. Then he played 32. Then last game in that 10-point loss in LA, he played 39 minutes, Adam. He wasn't particularly efficient. He was sub 1 fantasy point per minute guy. But the game prior to that, he had 22 and 13 in 32 minutes. I understand that that his price isn't super cheap, but it actually came down $100 from last time. What do you think about 17% owned or 16% owned Xavier Tillman tonight?
I think he looks decent in tournaments because he is a little bit more expensive than this just group of 4 to 5K value pieces that we have that are getting a lot of ownership. And so if you go to Tillman, it's going to cost you a little bit in terms of what you can pay up for, but it's also going to allow you to create a somewhat contrarian roster build just by going a little bit more expensive there. I think when people go to the mid-range at center, it's pretty much going to be Bam. It's going to be a little bit of Brook Lopez at 6,100, a little bit of Tillman at 5,700. But I think that it's just a spot where he's projected to go a little bit under owned, 20% chance of being optimal, 16% ownership. I'm not super confident in him because, like you said, you could conceivably get a game where he doesn't play huge minutes like he did last time out. But if he plays the 32 minutes like he did in game 2, you're probably going to be happy with that. If he plays the 39, you're almost definitely going to be happy with that. The risk is, that it plays out more like game 1. But in tournaments, I think it makes sense to take some shots at him. In cash games, I don't think I would get there.
Yeah, I don't think so in cash, but it is crazy because he's a 0.96 fantasy point per minute player on the season.
Yeah, not a bad point per minute guy at all. It's similar to Kevon Looney. We've talked about both of them sort of in the same context. Like you bring him up, and I think the immediate thought a lot of people have is like he's not a good fantasy producer because he doesn't score a lot. And for a center, they're not great point per minute guys because they don't score a lot, but they're still pretty cheap 1 fantasy point per minute guys.
Kevon Looney, just the assist god lately.
Yeah.
He almost doubled on assists and rebounds alone the other day. What do you have? 9 assists, I think.
Learning from Draymond.
What?
Learning from Draymond.
Yeah. And of course there was no Draymond, which is helpful, but he had 6 assists last game. Was that yesterday? Yeah. Yesterday too. Been pretty impressive fella, that Kevon Looney. All right. So we got to some of the cheap guys. I wanted to get them out of the way first because they're just really interesting and worth talking about. Now let's get into Ja and Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane and these mid to high priced guys, starting with Morant today, 30%. When you're looking at the high priced players, and you actually mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Giannis, just on DraftKings, you have Giannis at 10.4, LeBron at 10.2, Davis at 10,000. And then you drop down a little bit, Ja at 9.6, Butler at 9,400. Then it just falls off a cliff. Then you have a complete gap in tiers down to like 8,400 Holiday and 8,200 Jaren Jackson. So kind of in no man's land along with Jimmy Butler, but not really because LeBron and Davis are there too. How much Ja Morant are you looking to get to today in this spot?
So I think ownership's really going to drive a lot. And right now in tournaments, We do have Morant projected to go a little bit under owned, 35% chance of being optimal on DraftKings, 30% ownership, 1.5 DraftKings points per minute in the 2 games he's played this year. Obviously, you're not going to read into that too much. On FanDuel, 38% ownership, 35% ownership, 38% chance of being optimal. So similar to DraftKings, where he's not going wildly under owned, but you are getting a little bit of an ownership discount on him. And it's kind of tough because like you have Giannis, who, you expect more from a point per minute standpoint. You expect similar or a little bit more from guys like Davis and LeBron, but Morant also played 41.5 minutes last game. He's a little bit cheaper than those guys. If he plays 41 minutes again, there's a very good chance he's playing several minutes more than Giannis, who is, the only guy that you can confidently say is a better point per minute guy. And a matchup against the Lakers is going to be more, fast paced and appealing for Morant than a matchup against Miami is for Giannis anyway. So I think it's very difficult to really differentiate between these top end guys. And, like I said, so ownership's going to play a pretty big role, since I don't think anyone should really have massive preferences at the top. And right now we do have Morant going a little bit under owned.
Do you think there's anything with positional scarcity that makes a difference here? Like, I mean, point guard has some options. Russell's really popular. We'll get to him. Reeves is really popular. We'll get to him. And then you've got like Lowry and Dennis Schroeder. Jeez, dude, 3 of the top 5 point guards in ownership are Lakers today. But like, there's no other real stud point guard. 8,400 Holiday, but now you've got Giannis back. So really the only top tier guy, unless you're playing a bunch of Drew Holiday at point guard, is John Morant tonight.
Yeah. This actually, I hadn't actually looked at it in this filter, but I just went into our projections and sorted DraftKings, by points per dollar. And I had mentioned earlier that this is just a weird slate because like the most underpriced guys are at the top. The top point per dollar plays, Anthony Davis, using our projections, Anthony Davis 1, John Morant 2, really? LeBron 5, Giannis is in the top 10. So Jimmy Butler is ahead of Giannis also. So this is a really weird slate where like the best point per dollar point guard is $9,600 John Morant. And I don't disagree with that. D'Angelo Russell's coming in at 4. You have Austin Reeves in the top 10 as well. But, it's just, there's not a ton of good point guards, like you said, which is weird, but like Drew Holiday's price tag is pretty much correct. If John Morant is going to be 9,600, Drew Holiday should be like 7K or 7,200 or something. So relative to everything else, he's overpriced. D'Angelo Russell, clearly, taking a backseat to LeBron and Davis. Playing time hasn't been the most consistent. It's a weird slate where point guard's actually relatively not good.
We also have John Morant projected for the most minutes on the slate at 38.7.
Yeah, that's.
I'm looking at it. I don't think it's that crazy. We have
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with it. Like he very easily could play the most minutes. Last game he played 41.5. LeBron played 36. Davis played 39. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Butler played more minutes, but even then, You're probably talking about 40 to 39 or something. And we have Jimmy Butler projected for the second most minutes. So
at 38.2.
Right. It's 38.7 to 38.2. Like that's fine. I think that from a projection standpoint, either Morant or Butler is probably the favorite to play the most minutes.
Smokey F for the win. What's the max amount of players you would allow from one team on a 2-game slate? When did this start, Jordan? Celebrate the first super chat from Smokey FTW. Let's rip some shots, boys. When did that? I didn't even see that this morning. Is that a new feature, Jordan? Well, understand that it says first super chat, but I'm saying like what have you seen this a lot? Have you seen this recently? Oh, all right. So we got a lot of repeat customers is what you're saying. Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks for the super chat, man. Adam, what's the most players you would allow from one team on a 2-game slate?
I mean, I typically cap it at 5 on DraftKings. Obviously it's 4 on FanDuel. I don't really ever, it just doesn't end up being an issue for me. I'm typically not going to get to 6. You could go 6, I guess. It's just never really going to happen.
Yeah, we got 1,700 people watching with us. We're 59 likes away from 300. I understand people forget. I appreciate it. We all got shit going on, you know? Our heads are a polluted mess, mine included. But I'm just here to remind you, if you have a second, hit that thumbs up. Only takes a second. Get us north of 300 or something like that. I get it. You forget, but just a subtle reminder that it's there and it helps us. Thank you. All right. Let's keep going with Memphis. So we got to a bunch of the big spots here. Some strong analysis by Adam Scherer. Where do we go now with the rest of these other high-priced guys like Jaren Jackson and essentially Desmond Bane? And I guess that's really it as far as the other high-price options go. Do you have a lot of interest in either of them today?
It's tricky because I think that 8,200 for Jackson, 7,800 for Bane are both reasonable. Bane coming in at 7,100 on FanDuel is a bit unreasonable. Very, very cheap there, pulling 60% or 56% ownership. As a result, 51% chance of being optimal. So Bane looks really, really good on FanDuel. Jackson looks really, really good on FanDuel at 8,500 because you have to keep in mind that on FanDuel, you have a bigger gap where Anthony Davis is 12K. Giannis is just shy of 12K. Morant's 10.5. LeBron's 10.7. So you're getting a much bigger gap between them and guys like Jackson and Bane. And then Jackson and Bane are actually more favorably priced also, where, you know, Jackson's only $300 more than he is on DraftKings. Bane is $700 less. On DraftKings, it becomes a lot more difficult to prioritize those guys. You can certainly still play them. It's a 2-game slate. They're both good fantasy producers. They both have high ceilings. But the problem that's going to come into play, and it's going to keep you probably from getting to a lot of them, is just think about what your lineup looks like. If it has, you know, Jaren Jackson at 8,200 or Desmond Bane at 7,800, there's going to be a lot of instances where you can probably go from, like, you know, some, let's say Xavier Tillman at 5,700 down to, I don't know, Max, like Caleb Martin or something. Or if Kevin Love is starting Kevin Love, if Duncan Robinson is starting Duncan Robinson, and like you're giving up a little bit, but then you can upgrade from Desmond Bane to John Morant or Jimmy Butler, where you're gaining more. So that's kind of the thing, is just the flattened pricing at the top just makes it more difficult to pay slightly underpriced, kind of correct prices on guys like Jackson and Bane.
So I read Brad Clayton. Wait, Laffy just now learning about super chats? Yes. What's a super chat? No, I was wondering what is the first time super chat, like to celebrate first time super chat, something I had not seen before. That's yes, I've seen a few super chats. Matter of fact, I used to put all the names up on that jersey when that is not signed by the 76ers. I used to put all the names up on the jerseys during COVID. And then I got super lazy. It became very time consuming and we started to run out of room. But yes, familiar with the super chatting thing. All right, let's wrap up the Grizzlies. Anything else you like for the Grizzlies?
Luke Kennard's interesting to me in tournaments, just as somebody else in this 4 to 5K range that is going to play probably low to mid 20s in minutes. And his job is going to be to go out there and knock down threes. And if he is shooting well, he can stay on the floor. And obviously, if he's shooting well, that makes it likely he exceeds his salary also. So when you have all of this ownership coming into Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson, Strus, Martin, not to take anything away from those guys, but 6% projected 12% projected ownership coming into Luke Kennard, to me is pretty interesting, just because I don't think he's drastically different in terms of from a range of outcome standpoint compared to other value on this slate. I think that he's less likely to, like, his median projection is lower because the minutes aren't guaranteed, but he is going to get opportunities here, and you're getting a pretty big ownership discount off some of the other value.
Yeah, Josh just enjoying himself today. Do you ever just picture, you don't watch South Park? Jordan, do you watch South Park ever? All right. Do you remember the one where Kyle's dad becomes an internet troll? And he's just sitting there, like, after everyone goes to bed, just sipping red wine and trolling people, like aggressively horrible things. Sometimes I just picture Josh sitting back on the computer, laughing to himself with this maniacal grin, sipping on some red wine. Or I think Josh does some rosé at times too. Maybe that's Adam. I can't remember. But yes, Skank Connor. That's it. Thank you. Skank Connor. Yeah. Adam, by the way, you guys should take issue with this. Adam doesn't think South Park is that funny, which to me blows my mind. Now, it's just a preference thing. I get it. But man, when I asked you to watch those episodes, I'm thinking to myself, he's going to love these. And when you came back to me, man, with like, yeah, they're okay, it broke my heart.
It surprises me that I don't think it's that funny because it's my type of humor.
Right. That's the odd part. You would think like the stuff you and I talk about that all day long.
Right.
Which is why it's so surprising. But
I think it's really, I don't like animated shows that much. I liked Archer, and that was kind of it.
I don't watch any animated shows. I never did in my life. Like I never watched Cartoon Network or
yeah, I mean, I watched cartoons when I was a kid, but like as an adult, I don't really like animated shows that much.
Yeah. I watched The Little Family Guy, but like I never really got into it. South Park's just been a show that I've always, ever since I was 10, 9.
Yeah, Family Guy's another one where like I find it entertaining. Sometimes I'll like laugh at it, but if you told me what it was about, I would assume that I think it's way funnier than I do.
Man, so sad. Brajal Patel with a Jordan. What are these super chats? What is this on the screen? Someone just paid us $5. Put my name on the jersey now. Well, because you asked nicely. You put an LOL. You know what? I will do that, Brazil. You support the show all the time. Assuming I remember, I will do it. Very low likelihood that I remember. If I don't, you can remind me tomorrow until I do. That's a deal. But thanks for the super chat. All right. Lakers. Ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
All right, let's go Lakers here. So on this side of things, you've got LeBron and you've got Anthony Davis. Now, you had mentioned when we were talking just a second ago, the points per dollar. You have LeBron with the projected for the third most minutes, Davis projected for the fourth. So, by the way, I'm not surprised that Giannis isn't as high up. He's projected for 32.6 minutes. I understand we can't just be projecting him for huge minutes, but just before we get into the Lakers, your thoughts on minutes for Giannis. Like, what do you think the range of outcome for playing time is? Because they're down 2-1 in the series. What if this is a close game? Like, does Giannis play 38 potentially, and then you absolutely need him at 10-4?
Yeah, I do think the 32 and the only like playing time issue I have with these top guys is I do feel like Giannis is a little bit low. Just like, I think it's possible he plays 32 to 33 minutes, but I think it's much more likely that he plays like 36, 37 than that he plays 27 or 28. And so that's sort of my issue with it from like a range of outcome standpoint. I think it skews a little bit low because I don't think there's equal chances of him playing like 3 minutes less as there are to him playing 3 minutes more. I'd be more comfortable if he was like 34, 35, in which case he would project very, very similarly to Anthony Davis.
All right. Yeah, wanted to get that out of the way just because we're getting to Davis now and we're getting to LeBron. Both of these guys are going to be playing a ton of minutes in this one. So let's start it off up top with those guys. No shortage of ownership coming into the guards, as I mentioned earlier. But right now you've got Davis, 31%. You have LeBron James at 24%. Both of them with slight positive leverage today. What are you doing with the big dogs in LA?
Certainly happy to get to either one at these price tags. They're both in situations where, like, if Giannis were 11K or something on DraftKings, LeBron and Davis would be like the two most obvious pay up options. But because you have Giannis in there as well, and he's a better point per minute guy, even though he is likely to play fewer minutes, you have Morant in there who could play more minutes than everyone. It just ends up being, pretty flat across the board again. I do think it's very interesting that LeBron's only getting 24% ownership compared to 31 for Davis. I don't think there's that big of a gap between them. I guess, I would prefer Davis. He's a little bit cheaper. He does project a little bit better, and they're both actually projected to go a little bit under owned on DraftKings, but LeBron being 24%, being lower owned than pretty much all the other pay up guys, does stand out to me a little bit. He's at 1.4 DraftKings points per minute in the series, 36 minutes per game. So yeah, I'm happy to get to either guys. I do hope Davis goes under 13.5 rebounds. I did bet that today.
Who do you think won the Jets-Rodgers trade?
The Jets.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I didn't think they gave up that much. They swapped first round picks. They gave up what will probably be a first round pick next year and then like a 6th rounder.
No, and another second this year.
I thought
they did a pick swap. I'm just looking at Schefter here, right? They did a pick swap, and then Packers get a 2023 second round pick, the 42nd pick, so relatively early, and then a 6th round pick, and then a conditional second round next year that becomes a first if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays. I'll be honest with you, I would absolutely love to be in the Packers position right now.
I mean, I kind of think both teams sort of won. I don't have any issue with what the Jets gave up. Like, I think that if next year's ends up being a first rounder, that at least means you got, a relatively healthy season out of Rodgers. They are a very, very good team, minus the quarterback. Their defense is really good. Their wide receivers are really good. Breece Hall is really good. You just have no quarterback there. So, like, I think he's exactly what they needed. I don't think he's great anymore, but as long as he's, decent, that's all that they need. So I don't think it was like an egregious overpay. But then for the Packers, like, they also, he wasn't going to play there. They at least get some, first round value out of it. So, I mean, I think it's good for both sides. I think that the Jets got exactly what they needed.
Yeah. All I'm saying is we've seen a lot of these trades with like veteran QBs go real good for the teams recently that have traded them away.
Yeah, but they've also given up a lot more than the Jets did.
What do you mean?
It seems like didn't the Broncos give up a ton for Wilson?
Yeah, they did give up. They did give up a lot. Yeah. You're right. But I mean, look, this could become, if they get the first next year, if Rodgers plays a 65% of snaps, I think it looks great for the Packers, who are essentially in rebuild anyway. So
yeah, and somebody said it in chat, and I had meant to say it as well. If that second round pick converts to a first, there's a good chance that it's a late first, because if Rodgers plays plays more than 65% of the snaps, there's a good chance the Jets had a pretty solid record.
Not really. I don't think there's any correlation there at all.
What?
That's 11 games.
Right. So the worst case scenario is that he gets hurt in game 11 and then the Jets lose out and it ends up being a better.
I'm just saying 65. I'm saying 65% to me doesn't really mean much. He could play 12 games and like they're kind of in it, and then they just fizzle over the last.
Right, but if he exceeds 65%, there's a very good chance that he played the bulk of the season.
Right. I'm saying I'm not convinced that they're going to be good. Like I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is still great.
I don't think he needs to be great on that team.
They do have some weapons. And if Breece Hall comes back healthy, look, I think it's fine for both teams. All I'm saying is I would not be upset to have the Green Bay Packers position right now either if he plays 65+%.
Yeah, I mean, they got value. Like, they were if one of the options for the Packers was have Aaron Rodgers continue to be your quarterback, I would think that they lost. Given that it wasn't, I think they got value here, and I think the Jets managed to get exactly what they needed without giving up on too much.
All right. Hey, he's been in the league for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is 20th season, 19th season.
Sounds right. He drafted in 04.
Yeah, he played, first year was 05. So yeah, whatever. Anyway,
I mean, he sat the first like 3 also.
Yeah, behind Favre. Let's go back to the Lakers here today. Austin, and of course, Live Before Lock coming up next, guys. By the way, don't go anywhere. Stick around for that. They're taking you all the way up till 7:30. Reeves, Russell, both of these guys very popular today. Dennis Schroeder, very cheap, getting some love at 3,700. Jared Vanderbilt, Josh and I talked about that quite a bit today. Well, he's played like almost 200 minutes with LeBron and Davis. He's got 0.84 DraftKings points per minute in that spot. He is very cheap, though. He does have a 10% leverage score today. Start wherever you want on this team because everybody's, getting a lot of ownership.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about James and Davis at the top. The value is what's interesting because Dennis Schroeder's ownership has come up a bit since I wrote my article this morning, but still projected to go a little bit under-owned. You're likely getting, low to mid-20s from him at only 3,700. All of the other value we've talked about today is still like, at least 4K. Duncan Robinson is 4K. Kevin Love's up to 4,400. So 20 minutes per game so far in the series for Schroeder, only 0.58 DraftKings points per minute. If he plays better, he certainly should get more minutes. Played 24 minutes last game, subbed in at the end to close over Vanderbilt. But, if he hadn't closed, you're still talking about like 22 and a half minutes. If you're going to get, 20 to 22 from Schroeder at 3,700, I think it's a very reasonable value just because you don't have a lot of really good value plays on this slate. Same goes for Jared Vanderbilt at 4,100, only 0.68 DraftKings points per minute in the 3 postseason games so far, or 0.64 DraftKings points per minute rather, 8% usage rate, 9.5% rebounding percentage, 22 minutes per game. You're not confident at all because, he is just playing so many minutes with LeBron and with Davis. But if you're going to get around 22 minutes from him at 4,100, there's just still a decent chance he ends up being one of the best guys in that price range, because everybody that you're going to talk about in that range has pretty legitimate question marks. Rui Hachimura is a bit more expensive, so his ownership is lower. That there's the path to him playing upper 20s if he's playing well, but you obviously can't be overly confident in that. Played about 22 minutes last game in the first 3 games of the series. He's averaged 28 minutes per game, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute. So the upside's there, but his salary increased to where, you're paying a little bit more for him than for Caleb Martin, than really all the Miami guys that are going to need to play a lot of minutes. So it's tough to prioritize him. It's more so a, secondary value option. Then you get to Russell and Reeves, where they're really cheap. Reeves is only $200 more expensive than Rui on DraftKings. Russell's $600 more. You can feel better about their playing time. Russell played 31 minutes last game. Reeves played 35. Reeves obviously has just played really well for a while now. 0.85 DraftKings points per minute in the postseason, 34.3 minutes per game. D'Angelo Russell in those 3 games is at 0.93 DraftKings points per minute, 32 minutes per game, 22.8% usage rate, 25.6% assist percentage. So in terms of priorities for the Lakers, I think Russell and Reeves are the top 2 from a value standpoint. One of James, either one, but chances are you'll only be getting to one of them in a given lineup. But James and Davis both look like good values. And then at the cheap end, Vanderbilt, Schroeder, you're not going to be confident in either one, but they should at least get some minutes. I don't know you can really go further than that. Troy Brown's 3,300, should play mid-teens, but not many minutes and not a good point per minute guy. Same for Malik Beasley, just not playing that many minutes. Now, if he goes out there and starts out 3 of 3 from 3, maybe he plays more and, just kind of does what Keegan Murray did the other day and goes from playing, 16 minutes to scoring 30 fantasy points, but pretty unlikely that that's going to happen. And you are getting some ownership coming into them, 8% to Brown, 9% to Beasley. So I don't think that there's a ton of value there in terms of ownership versus optimal percentage.
Let's hit a couple super chats before we go. And I appreciate you guys. Crushed 300 likes, 23 away from 400. We're in business heading into live before lock. Craig L, $10 super chat. Thanks, man. Sipping on gin and juice with my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Good stuff, fellas, as always. Is that a song?
Never heard it.
All right. I like gin and juice.
I like the song.
All right, good stuff. All right, Josh of Los Angeles. Thanks, Josh. $20 super chat. You probably don't know that or what this is, but wanted to say thanks to you both. Been on fire, and you both plus Singleman have been instrumental in helping me improve my game. That's awesome, man. And I think Josh of Los Angeles was saying he hit 5K yesterday as well. So shout out to you.
Adding Engelman to that ruined most of it, but
thank you to both of you guys for the super chats. It's 6:30. We have to get out. And yes, we know it's a song. I was just saying, you see chat right now.
Now I do.
Yeah. All right. Yes, we know what the song. I love getting chat fired up on the dumbest shit. All right. Yeah. Let's get out of here. The live before lock coming up next. We got Greg and Neil coming up next. Greg and Neil, Greg Ehrenberg, Neil Orfield, lay back. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Deeper Dive, presented by No House Advantage. Of course, follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. Me _D. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing. As always, good luck tonight, guys. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again, right here. The Stokastic Hall of Fame. Right before you watch Live Before Lock, we're giving out some free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value, and inducting all of you fine people into the Hall of Fame. And we got some bangers for today. A laundry list of screenshots. We're going to go through all of them, do the bragging for you. And like I said, give out some free subscriptions to Awesemo Plus Platinum. All you got to do to get yourself involved here, get up on the board, get that month, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and you're in. Got the free month. You're inducted into the Hall of Fame. Let's get to it. Big dogs coming up in a huge way last week. Our own Eddie Lai. Barnes with the last-second rebound for the win. $100,000 win from Eddie in a little NBA playoff action. And Tom Kennedy. Been playing around with some tools we have in beta. Next season's going to be fun. Check out Stokastic HOF to see what an insane hot streak we've been on recently. Yeah, that is an understatement. Tom taking 100K. He got second in that for 15K. He also won the layup and came in second for 10 and 3,000. Like he said, messing around with the tools we have in beta and all the other tools on the site. Monster day for Tom. And then the Colts, Steve Buzzard, the heater continues. $70,000 in the shoot around. Third place as well. God, the hits just keep coming. How about Hamburglar too? Stokastic HOF. Been a while since I got a win. Listening to shows daily and appreciate all the content. $12 into over $1,000. Some NASCAR action in the Hall of Fame board today. Congrats, man. And Tim Hutchison, been super involved in our chalkboard channel. Join that, by the way. Links in the description and it's free. Been crushing on the parlays from the Bet Pro tool. Wanted to get Tim in here. Not getting the free month, but this definitely a prideful moment. The heater continues. Pulled 8 props from the top of the Bet Pro. Went 7 for 8. And yes, I ran singles and all the 4, 5, 6, 7 pick round robin bets. Yeah, just some massive wins here from Tim. Congrats, man. Keep that going. I know you had a huge weekend in chalkboard. Ryan Golub finished second out of 55,000 in the 25-cent contest last night. Great tools led to a nice bankroll booster for a small stakes player like me. Hell yeah, dude. Second out of 55K, $250. And then Jeff Wilk. Thanks for the content. I'm sure Ben Rasa is jealous that I took this down with his boy Grillo. $1,500 in the hybrid. First place. Congrats, Jeff. Cohen. I was a Wiggins 3 away from taking down my first tournament. Shout out to Live Before Lock crew. Always dropping knowledge. $400. Third place in the 15K end one. Congrats, man. How about Stuart Norris? $100. Third place in the Friday piggy bank. And remember, guys, doesn't matter if you're entering 5 cents, 10, 25 cents, $20 dollar contest. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, we got you. You're getting up here and you're getting the free month. Like Dave Oliver, you guys are the best. Thank you for your great content. Great ROI. Yeah, man. $100, fifth place in the beanball, $125, first place in the Sunday wiffle ball. We'll keep it rolling. With Chris O'Neill, $400 to Showdown, 10K and one. Just a simple man at Stokastic HOF. I get it. Michael Clement, thanks to Neil Orfield and Adam, best tools in the industry. Yeah, second and third place, both same lineup or same score. So that's $1,500 right there in the Monday MLB squeeze. Ooh, we keep running out of steam here. Oscar, $25 into $903. Huge ROI. Thanks for the great content. Not first place, but second is just as good. LFG, yes, it is also good enough for a free month. And a couple more here to close it out. Jeff, first MLB season, and I'm still learning. Nice win for the confidence and bankroll. Appreciate you all. $1,500. First place in the MLB 3K quarter jukebox. And Crash Money. A small win, but I'll take it all the same. Thanks to Greg, Neil, Laffy, Adam for all the great content. Appreciate Steve Buzzard taking time out from all that winning to help me refine my process in office hours. Yeah, every Wednesday, I think it is, Steve's in there in Discord answering questions and helping you guys out. Sean, it's been beautiful to see how great ROI in such a tough contest. A nickel in the $75, I'll take it. How about a free month of platinum? You got it, man. Your team is the best around. Shout out to you, Sean. Thanks and congratulations. We'll close it out with C-Zip. That's the Stokastic Hall of Fame, second and fifth place in the quarter jukebox. There we go, man. Collect it. Everyone collect them. Remember, at Stokastic Hall of Fame is where your tweets go, and stokastic.com/avatar is where you get that. Use it wherever you play. Get up here. You've now been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Welcome back to those of you who have been here before.
inspirational pep talk from Jordan Klein. What is going on, everybody? I hope you had a great weekend. I know Neil Orfield did because his Minnesota Timberwolves, fresh off a win last night. Got 2 more basketball games that we are about to break down for you. So as you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to No House Advantage, who is sponsoring the show tonight. And Neil, let the people know here, how excited are you that your Minnesota Timberwolves got a win last night?
I'll be very, very excited if they can win another one game. I'm still excited. Like they didn't get swept. That is worth something. I was super pumped last night. Obviously, today a day removed. Like, yeah, they probably just won one game in the series, but if they can win one more game, get it back to Minnesota, and I can just get one final Timberwolves game this season, I'll be super pumped just to be able to experience one more home game. But yeah, definitely very exciting. Love to see Ant's development. Just that dagger 3 with 11 seconds left was pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, man. I don't know how many players I've been more excited to be wrong about. I was so skeptical about Edwards coming into the year, and then especially at the start of the year, he started so poorly, and now he's great, and it's awesome. I love him. So
me too, excited. By the way. Yeah, the first half of his rookie year, I was like, this guy is so bad. Like, and I wanted them to draft LaMelo going into the draft, so I was already like a little bit biased against Ant at the time. There were, all the rumors of like he doesn't even watch basketball. He doesn't like basketball that much. So it was just like, we're just drafting this guy because he's athletic. He doesn't even care. And then of course, by the second half of his rookie season, it was like, oh yeah, this kid is actually good. Now he's my favorite player by far.
Those are always weird analysis because it's like sometimes, like there's somebody like a Jamarcus Russell who clearly doesn't give a shit. But then there's other players too where you hear it all the time, like, I don't, once again, we don't know how true it is, but like the NFL draft is about to start. And that's what I read tweets about. Like there are people who say like, oh, CJ Stroud doesn't like football, and just people get labeled this way.
Yeah.
But like, how do we even know? Like, How do we know this? Is there's any truth to it?
Yep. Agreed. No, and it was just, I also I knew more about LaMelo Ball. He seemed like he was the better player. And of course, like the first half of the rookie year, Ant was extremely bad, and LaMelo Ball was as good as he is now. I think that he's he hasn't improved since then. He's still a good NBA, he was a good NBA player the first half of his rookie year, so he hasn't had to improve that much. But I think he was just more polished coming in than Ant. So it just looked like, holy shit, this kid, some of the passes he was making, he just seemed so much more exciting at the time. So very excited that Ant has become him.
Who's definitely regretting everything about that draft, though, is the Golden State Warriors, who got James Wiseman, who they flipped into second round picks that aren't going to convert into anything this year. So yeah, I'm sure the Hornets are better about their position. The Timberwolves better about their position than, the Golden State Warriors good about their position overall, but maybe not that draft individually. Also, I have to answer Ryan Houston in the YouTube chat saying, Greg, how do I feel about Dave Loughran not knowing what a super chat is? Yeah. Well, did he not answer anybody's super chats last show, Jordan? Yeah. So it's okay. I'll train him up a little bit. I'll talk to Lofty after this. I'll let him know the ropes around here and how things work. In the meantime, though, I see we've got super chats here waiting for me. First, from Brajal Patel. Neil, if the Minnesota, if the Minnesota wins the next game, it's calling it like a college, like the Minnesota Timberwolves. If the Minnesota wins the next game, will you do a shoey on Live Before Lock?
Well, first of all, I don't know what that is, so it's hard to answer. Is this am I flashing the audience? What is this? Am I going to get in trouble for doing this? I don't know what a shoey is.
It is chugging a beer out of a shoe.
Oh. Maybe. No, that if they win the series, I will.
Okay, so there we go. By the way, here's something I've learned. You just say no to these things because or else people keep asking you. Here's something that I'm going to give you this advice. I didn't give it to Eric because I thought it was funny when he would work himself into these pits. If somebody makes these bets with you where you have no chance of winning, right? There's nothing for you to really gain. Like
that's true. I should just say no. But in this case, no. I win drinking a beer, chugging a beer on camera. I mean, that's it's not that big of an ass. That'd be kind of fun. I'd probably have to buy a new pair of shoes, I guess. So there is that because I don't want to drink out of my shoe.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little gross. By the way, also the way they do it, this is more involved, but if you've ever watched Tai Tuivasa, familiar with him, the UFC fighter?
Yeah.
That's what he does. After he wins, he pours a beer into a random audience member's shoe.
Oh God.
He has a stranger spit in it, and then he chugs the beer.
Yeah, I won't do that. I won't do that.
That is how the traditional shoey is done. It's like an Australia and New Zealand type thing, that part of the world. So that to me is extremely weird and gross. That's the actual shoey. But there are other people in the industry like Cody Safdie, Paul Shaughnessy, who they do shoey bets with each other as like a bit on their content. And then somebody loses and they just have to chug a beer out of a shoe. So like that is something that's been popularized within the MMA community. But I'm telling you, what you should do is you just say no to these things because there's never any upside. And then they just keep piling. So like the first year that Eric was on the show, he's shaving his eyebrows off and stuff. He's doing all kinds of weird stuff for no reason other than somebody asked him to, and he wanted people to like him a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me to do something that I don't like, that sounds horrible to me, I'm going to say no, but like chugging a beer on the stream. And I'm like, the logistics of doing it out of a shoe, like, could it be a clean shoe? Could I buy a new pair of shoes? Could it be, I don't know. Well, I don't know the logistics, but it doesn't sound that bad to me.
Yeah, and the other things too is, Spencer Smith brings up eating chalk. That is also something that Eric did on a show once, is he ate chalk.
Oh, no.
Also, like, I don't even remember why he did these things. It was just like somebody asked him and he was like, please, I'll do it if you give me 6 likes on the show I'm on. And then he goes and does like, that's how low the bar is for Eric. It's like, oh, if you guys give me 2 retweets on Twitter, like I'll let you have sex with my mom. Like he is like just the lowest bar of things.
I've got a higher bar. I do have a higher bar, I think, than Eric.
Yeah, so Eric's bar is very low. He's absolutely a man whore, but that's kind of where some of these things originated from. And some more super chats coming, and this one is from Hannah Banana. Hannah, DK tiers, please. Best player and a second best player if possible. Absolutely. And then sending good vibes to all. Let the DFS gods sprinkle good luck. And then there are a lot of emojis here. I don't know what the purpose of the banana emojis are, but we've got banana emojis. We've got cash emojis.
It's probably for Hannah Banana.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good luck emoji. It's a lot of, I wonder, Hannah, how do you decide how many emojis you send? Because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
a lot of
6,
bananas.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to us. So like, why 12? Why do you go to 13? Why not stop earlier? But yeah, I could certainly help you with DK tiers for today. So no real injuries to be concerned about right now. Jimmy Butler has a sore asshole, but he's been upgraded to in after we were unsure about him earlier in the day. Giannis is going to play after we were unsure about him earlier in the day. So Neil and I did a video together earlier in the day where we were trying to figure out some of these, different player situations, who's going to be in, who's going to be out. But we've got all of that confirmed now. For tiers purposes, tier 1, where we have the options are pretty loaded here. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Ja Morant. I am going to go with Giannis 1 and Ja Morant 2. It's really hard to know what to make of the health of Giannis after the time off. And then Ja Morant as well, to an extent, when he first came back, but he looked so good last game that I'm kind of feeling good about that. But if this was a regular season game and we had no concerns at all about Giannis, and you were just telling me cost isn't an issue, you could play Giannis, Morant, AD, LeBron, that would have been Giannis all day. And I think he's going to be downgraded a little bit just because we haven't seen him play in a couple days, or more than a couple days, about a week now. But Giannis for the upside, give me him in tier 1. And I think he's going to have slightly depressed ownership based on what he would normally have in that spot. Tier 2, Jimmy Butler, my favorite overall option. Second favorite option, Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. Tier 3, my favorite option is Bam Adebayo. Second favorite option is Chris Middleton. Tier 4, my favorite option is Brook Lopez. Second favorite option, Austin Reeves. Really weird tier here where you got Lopez, Reeves, or, starters that played big minutes. And then you got like Kyle Lowry, Rui Hachimura. And I know Rui's been shooting the lights out, but he's not on the same level as like a Brook Lopez from a fantasy standpoint. So Brook Lopez 1, Austin Reeves 2. Tier 5, it is unfortunately Dillon Brooks as my favorite play in that tier. It never feels good, but that's the options we have here. It's another one where it's like Dillon Brooks, but the other options from Memphis in this tier, Neil, it's Dillon Brooks, Tyus Jones, and Luke Kennard. If you're pairing these guys together, it's Dillon Brooks. Second favorite option is Kevin Love. Starting, seems to be getting a little bit more minutes.
Do we know that? Do we know that he's starting?
I assume he is.
Would it affect things for you if he doesn't start?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But either way, Dillon Brooks my favorite in tier 5. Kevin Love is my second favorite. And then tier 6, it is Jared Vanderbilt 1 and Dennis Schroeder 2. So Hannah, I hope that helps you answer your questions. But yeah, that is true. We don't know that he is going to start, but I assume he's going to start because he started last game in place of Tyler Hero. They played well. They won that game. That's generally what we see out of NBA teams, especially in the playoffs. Teams are really obsessed about making changes after one loss, and they win the game. It's like, this is what we have to do now. So I assume it's going to be Kevin Love.
But though, I mean, it was with Giannis out, so it's a little bit of a different matchup.
True.
Is the only reason that they could change the starting lineup. But we'll know that before the end of the show.
Yep, we'll see. Slate locks in about 45 minutes now, and yeah, sometime before the end, we'll know for sure what the Heat starting lineup is. My current expectation is Vincent, Strus, Butler, Love, Adebayo. But good point by you. We don't know that 100% sure. Just making an educated guess there. Michael McKinney. Hey guys, 5 favorite FanDuel plays. Yes, sir. So I ran FanDuel lineups, and when I did, these are the players I got the most exposure to. Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Kevin Love, so assuming he starts, and Jimmy Butler. So we do need to have that official starting lineup because it is going to impact some of the players I get exposure to. Have you run lineups yet, Neil? And is Kevin Love somebody you've been getting to as of now?
I have not run lineups yet. But I'll do that. I'll do that and we can talk about it.
One thing you'll notice about Neil, by the way, his voice a little gone. You could tell he was at an overtime playoff game last night.
2 of the past 3 nights, and then Saturday night in between. I have a friend in town from Alaska. He wasn't visiting me. His brother lives here, so I'm actually good friends with his brother and became friends with him. Anyway, long story short, I went out again. I went out Saturday night as well. So 3 nights in a row of going out. Saturday night was just, we went bowling, but still just, talking, drinking, and just, my voice is a little bit shot today.
Is he an Inuit by chance?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, because I didn't know if you knew this, but apparently Eskimo is a derogatory term. You're supposed to say Inuit.
I did not know that. So like, if you can't say, you can say we're Inuit brothers.
You could, depending on the scenario.
It was suggested in chat that you and I are Eskimo brothers at one point.
That is true, because
it was a little bit weird.
But... Yeah, because when we had, who was it, James Wood, what was James Woods, maybe the name of the guy in chat who thought we were related.
Yes, that James Perkins, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, whatever, or the actor, one of the two. It was one of those people. You forget who you come in contact with. I assume you went to high school with James Woods, but yeah. So it was the James Perkins in chat believed that we were related, and one of the potential relations between us was that we were Inuit brothers or Eskimo brothers. But hey, I think if we want to be politically correct, Inuit bros, what's wrong with that? But anyway, Michael McKinney, I hope that helps answer your question. Just to reiterate, Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Kevin Love, Jimmy Butler, and just need to wait to see if that Heat starting lineup does indeed have Kevin Love in it. My expectation is that it will, but not 100% sold on that. I just think that is the most likely scenario. Now, let's go to... Oh, and by the way, Jordan says my mic is too low. Is that true? Is it low? Let me check to make sure I have the right thing selected in here. Okay, yeah, I do have the microphone selected. All right, here. I think this button turns it. Oh yeah, this button turns it up. Does that make a difference?
I hadn't even noticed that it was quiet.
So part of the thing I just realized too is because now that I'm conscious of it, I changed the volume on my mic, but I also think I'm speaking louder because I'm so aware of it. So yeah. It's hard to know. Doing my best though. Yeah, it's low. All right, I'm trying. How about now? Good? Or am I just talking louder? That also could definitely be what's happening here.
You sounded crisp and loud to me the whole time. So somebody else will have to answer.
All right. Worst comes to worst, I'll just start shouting. I'm home, but like, what difference does it make? There's nobody else in this house with me. If I yell, who's gonna give a shit? The person across the street? I see that guy. That guy, by the way, the guy across the street, for whatever reason, all fall used to go outside and rake leaves in tighty whities. He's like 90 years old.
Fun. Give you a little show.
It's like 50 degrees outside, sometimes even colder. And he'd be out there in his underwear, just raking leaves all day. And he does it every single day. And never, like, he chases the leaves as they fall from the tree and just starts raking them and never wearing clothes. He just really wants to put on a show. Sounds like it. It's like the guy from Family Guy. If I ever walk past him. Yeah. You want a popsicle? Got a popsicle down in my freezer. Yeah, that guy. I forget what his name was. That's a good impression. Yeah, but that guy, he lives across the street from me. I assume he would make advances on me if I went outside. I don't go 100%. Outside, but if I did, I assume that's how. Don't do it, Greg. Doesn't sound worth it. All right. I think, do we have the microphone figured out now? All right, cool. Let me check Discord to make sure that there weren't any questions there that I missed. If you guys have any questions and you're in Discord, message me. One of the perks being a Stokastic Plus Platinum member. We do have one here from Einsteinium. Einsteinium wants to know, At what point do we stop playing Bam for being absolutely garbage? When he gets more expensive, I do find him a little bit hard to entirely get away from today. My most rostered player with center exposure on DraftKings is Kevin Love, but then behind him, I'm fairly close on Bam Adebayo and on Anthony Davis. I mean, if you look at Bam too, by the way, if you've played Bam recently, like, are you that disappointed with the results? He scored 39 fantasy points at 7,200 last game. That's not the end of the world.
No, that's definitely, I'll take that.
I get that he wasn't good. All these recent results are fine. He's $7,700. He scored 37 more fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. It's not that bad.
Yeah, that's true. You wouldn't take the 26-point performance, but other than that.
So the other thing too, the 26-point performance, though, is a blowout where he played limited minutes. Like, if we're just looking at the competitive games in this series, or even going back to the play-in games. So play-in games, game 1 against the Hawks, he scores 39 fantasy points. Second play-in game against the Bulls, he scores 37. Then you get game 1 against the Bucks. He scores 45. Game 2 is a blowout. Everybody plays limited minutes. I don't know how much I want to really put stock into that game. And the last game he goes out, he scores 39. By the way, last game also a blowout where he played limited minutes.
Yeah. Seems like a good play still. And I'm getting plenty of them.
Yeah. No. The results haven't been that bad. I was kind of thinking, like, because I did remember that game from 2 games ago, but this isn't not terrible. I wouldn't be concerned about any of this.
Yeah.
And is there anything, let me see, like usage? His usage has been fine as well. His usage rate is upper 20s during the series. He's had a usage rate in the 3 games of the series, 23%, 34%, 33%. I honestly don't see any issues with this at all. I don't know. Follow up, Einsteinian. Maybe.
So the answer is not yet.
Sorry, what was that?
I said, so the answer is not yet. We're not giving up on it.
Not yet. Like, if he really starts to, suck or something weird happens with his usage, sure, I'm looking fine to me, though. Looks fine. The next question that we have in Discord, this one comes from, I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to read the letters. HSHDBDBD. And then he wants to know must plays for FanDuel. How'd you pronounce that?
I'm trying to find it. But yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Must plays for FanDuel. So I read off my guys who I had the most exposure to overall. I'll go position by position for FanDuel and just tell you who I got the most of at each spot. Point guard is D'Angelo Russell. And, Russell's been a tricky one because he's somehow playing a lesser role for the Lakers than Austin Reeves, but also another guy in D'Angelo Russell, I think, is upside. And we have seen a little bit in this series. He scored 33 fantasy points in 2 out of the 3 games. His price is reasonable at $6,300 on FanDuel. And I do view there being upside there, particularly if he starts making shots. His usage isn't all that high, but I think the main reason is because he shot 5 of 14, 2 of 11, and 7 of 17 from the field in this series. He's never the most high efficient player in the league. I'm sure, as Neil remembers from his ill-lived days as a Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, was not my favorite player.
Yeah, but with that said, he's not. The last 2 games, he's a total of 7 of 25 from the field. He's not that inefficient, and it stands to reason if he was making even 40% of his shots from the field, he would be taking a little bit more shots. So I like his upside at point guard. Second favorite point guard, John Morant. Shooting guard, Desmond Bane and Gabe Vincent were the players I got the most of. Small forward, Desmond Bane and Jimmy Butler. Power forward, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Kevin Love. And then center right now, Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kevin Love. The centers I got to the most there. So the players that I think warrant the most exposure to each position for FanDuel, once again, same thing I said before, just waiting to see to make sure that Kevin Love is indeed in the starting lineup. Next question. Basti G wants to know, what are our priority payups for GPPs and the best value contrarian option? Not sure I could be with Dylan Brooks. Is Dylan Brooks going to be so hard to predict the ownership of just because of how much negative bias there is towards him?
Probably.
Is he just going to come in way under owned now because everybody fucking hates him?
Possibly. Yeah. I think
I'm getting that sense.
But he's also on people's minds, and like they're thinking like, oh, he's probably going to shoot more because of this spat with LeBron. I don't know, but yeah, it's probably not going to. I mean, we've got him at. I bet he comes in at under 56% because people hate him.
I would also, because it's one of these things too where ownership, it's very much based on math. There's no human element involved, and But by the way, the other funny thing too is Basti G says, I can't get down. Not sure I could get down with Dylan Brooks. He's also not contrarian at all, at least not based on the ownership projections. But let me pull up our most recent run of ownership as I go about and answer your question. But priority payups for GPP. Neil, for yourself today, who's your favorite payup option on the slate, all things being considered?
Let me sort by salary real quick.
I have an answer, by the way. So I'm curious to see where you go. I feel very strongly about my answer.
For me, I think it's 23% on LeBron. I think, nice matchup. I mean, not the best matchup with Memphis, but I think the price tag at 10,200, no health concerns. He's the lowest owned of the high end payup options. So when you factor the ownership in, I think it has to be LeBron for me.
Mine is the second lowest owned payup option, Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is such an egregious price tag for Giannis based on what he did over the regular season. He's $10,400 on DraftKings and not that popular. If you had a 2-game slate where Giannis was 10,400 2 months ago, he'd be like 80% owned.
True.
And people are just not playing him right now because of the concerns about the health, which, by the way, I understand. I'm not saying this is the safest play in the world, but the price kind of mitigates some of that. We're not paying the $12,000 price tag we would typically see on Giannis on DraftKings. He's 10,400. This is a combination of the cheapest Giannis will ever be and the lowest owned he will ever be, really at any kind of price point for a 2-game slate. All of that to me makes the risk well worthwhile. I know the floor is lower for Giannis than it would normally be, but the ceiling remains the same. I like Giannis as a payup option, and he's got the power forward and center eligibility, which that helps him out a little bit. And then as far as FanDuel goes, he's a little bit more expensive at 11,900, but he is less popular than Anthony Davis, who's more expensive than him. He is almost half the ownership of LeBron on FanDuel. He's a third of the ownership of Jimmy Butler. It's a button that people don't want to click. He's Giannis. It's a button that I like clicking when other people don't.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like the call on DraftKings as well. I think that he's you can make definitely a strong case for Giannis at 27% ownership. And it's possible the ownership comes in even lower than that, but 10,400. Haven't seen that kind of price on Giannis in a while.
No, and then even FanDuel 11,900 earlier, and not that much different. He didn't get priced down on FanDuel the same way as he did on DraftKings. So to start the series, he was priced at 12,000 on FanDuel, but pretty regularly over the course of the season, we saw him right around this price tag, occasionally higher, though. We saw his salary get as high as, 12.5, I think. Yeah, 12.5 was the ceiling price tag for Giannis. There's still upside there. And then once again, people are playing Anthony Davis over him when Anthony Davis is more expensive on FanDuel. And also, Giannis has really favorable positionality on FanDuel, power forward and small forward as opposed to the center there. So, yeah, I like Giannis on both sites. I like getting overweight to him. And the other part of this question, by the way, is best value contrarian options. So if we had to look, and it's a 2-game slate, so it's hard to find guys who are that contrarian for value. So I'll give you a little bit of leeway with this, Neil. You could kind of make it whatever number you want it to be, but who is a player that you would consider to be a contrarian value option you like to get to? And it could be somebody who's like 18% owned.
If we can go up to 18%, I'm going to go with Xavier Tillman at 16.6%. I think that he's clearly got upside. He just played big minutes in the last game, 39 minutes in that one. They kind of need him. If he can not get in foul trouble, he's helpful to have out there against Anthony Davis. So yeah, I think it would probably be Xavier Tillman for me at that, 16.6% ownership, 5,700 price tag. Just had a big game. Yeah, I think for now I'm going to go with Tillman. Let me see if I find anybody else. But yeah, that's where I'm going right now.
Based on the lineups I've built, I'm going to answer Caleb Martin. I come in overweight to him at 17% ownership, which let me double check to make sure that is correct. Yeah, 17% for Caleb Martin. I mentioned I expect Kevin Love to start. If Love doesn't start, I guess Martin would be one of the other potential options, but still Martin's in line for extra playing time due to the absence of Tyler Hero. We did see Martin play 33 minutes last game, even though he came off the bench. So last game, 33 minutes, 33.75 fantasy points the game before. 29 minutes, 27.75. Still, only 5,000. He's low owned relative to it being a 2-game slate. So Caleb Martin, somebody who I ended up getting to in lineups as I built them. The lineups you built, did Caleb Martin show up in them?
I only got to 10%. That's before I've done anything. I was going to say a secondary shout out to like that group of like Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, are all kind of like Duncan Robinson, especially if he's coming off the bench, could see reduced. We've got him at 22%. So right now, I actually don't love him at 22%, but I could see it being lower if we get news that Kevin Love is starting.
Kevin Love is starting. Vincent,
Kevin Love is starting.
Butler, Love, Adebayo. So here's how that sequence of events played out. You said if Kevin Love starts, and then I got an alert on my phone that's had Kevin Love in the starting lineup, like in that order. Exactly.
So it could be that Kevin Love starts. So here, I think that will knock down Duncan Robinson's ownership a little bit. The fact that we have him at 22% owned probably means that some other sites projected Duncan Robinson starting, because it's not based on our projection. I can say that. So maybe he gets higher ownership, but I imagine that we'll see a dip in Duncan Robinson's ownership as other sites take him out of the starting lineup. And I think that there's at least a chance that Kevin Love starts, but then kind of gets played off the floor. Can't keep up with Giannis and ends up, ceding to Duncan Robinson. I don't know. That's he's interesting at low ownership, but we'll see. We'll see if the ownership changes at all. At 22%, I don't love him. If the ownership is lower, I would take some shots on Duncan Robinson, but I like I think Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin at the very least, I'm going to take some shots on.
And nice. There we go. Loughran Markkanen, most improved player of the year. All right. That's going to be probably my nicest betting win of the year. Loughran Markkanen, if you guys tailed me on Twitter, tweeted out beginning of the year, Loughran Markkanen, 55-1 for most improved player. Comes through right there. Laurie, named officially. Love to see it. Some more questions that we have in the Discord channel here. This one is from Gavin Williams. Wants to know must plays for FanDuel. I feel like I've gotten asked the same question in like kind of different ways a few different times, but I'll run through it. My most rostered players position by position for FanDuel. D'Angelo Russell and John Morant at point guard. Shooting guard, Desmond Bane and Gabe Vincent. Small forward, Desmond Bane and Jimmy Butler. Power forward, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kevin Love. Centers, Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kevin Love. There you guys have it. Some of the most rostered players for FanDuel at each spot. Then Gavin Williams wants to know, is Jaren Jackson Jr. a must play? I mean, it depends. Like, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, should you have some exposure to him? Yes. Is he a must play if you're building one lineup? No. And then what is the most value for 4,500 and under on FanDuel? Let's see. Who's the player I got to the most who's sub 4,500 on FanDuel? Sort by my exposures. So 4,500 or under, Kevin Love. Kevin Love is 4,100 on FanDuel. That's the one who I think makes the most sense. And then in FanDuel, would I rather play LeBron James or Ja Morant? I have more of Morant on FanDuel, especially relative to ownership. Ja Morant, that is my answer there. Sean Sullivan Jr., thoughts on Connaughton with Giannis in, or is he too snooky? I don't think I got, let me double check this before I say anything, but I'm fairly sure I didn't really get to. Yeah, Connaughton's a no-go for me. Is he showing up in any of your lineups?
He's not currently. We're projecting him for 1% ownership, which is at least kind of interesting. Like, there are obviously paths to him getting some minutes. He played, he played 26 minutes their most recent game, 25 the game before. So that was without Giannis. And the first game was with Giannis also hurt early in the game, right? So we picked up more minutes. You can make an argument, like, if Giannis is banged up, maybe he's a little bit more likely to leave the game. And then Connaughton will come in at 1% ownership. I think that he's like playable. He could play in a blowout. There are paths for Connaughton to get there. So I don't hate it, but just know that you're likely, like, the most likely scenario is you're not getting a ton from him.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a scenario where he's not even in the rotation.
Right.
Like, he wasn't in the rotation game one of the series when Giannis was healthy. So
you're right.
I would say there's better, even on a small slate, there's better guys to play than Pat Connaughton, in my opinion. Other places to go to.
Yeah. So I would say in a 150 set, I would probably get to some. I probably won't get them. I'm playing 60 lineups today, and I don't anticipate that I'll get to any Pat Connaughton, but I do think if I were playing 90 more lineups, I probably would get to some Pat Connaughton, just because I think that 1% ownership, I think that he has outs, and you have to accept some punt lineups on a 2-game slate. Like, I'm willing to take some risks and just accept that it's probably a punt, but there's some chance that he goes off, like in a blowout or something.
If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by No House Advantage. So if you guys haven't checked out No House Advantage, sign up using our link because it's going to get you up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And then also over at No House Advantage, you guys might be in a state that does not have legal sports betting, but good news, they probably have bets or props you can play against the house over at No House Advantage. And we have projections for that over at Stokastic.com and our Pick'em Pro package, which if you guys want to sign up for, there's a link below. You get access to it for less than $5. That includes prize picks, underdog, and No House Advantage. I will tell you who we currently have as our top projected props over at NHA. These are the top 3 on the board for us. Under 3.5 assists for Bam Adebayo, we have winning 60% of the time. Under 5.5 assists for Giannis Antetokounmpo, we have winning 60% of the time. And then Jimmy Butler under 28.5 points, we have winning 59% of the time. Those are our top projected NHA props in our Pick'em tool. If you guys play on prize picks, No House Advantage, underdog, any of those sites, or if you play on all of them, sign up for a Pick'em Pro package. You get access to that for less than $5 when you sign up for the first time using the link below in the description box. Next super chat here, James Magruder, top plays at each position on DK. So let's go back and forth here, Neil. Looking at DK, who did you get the most exposure to at point guard?
Let me run one more because I just made some changes. At point guard, I am getting Austin Reeves, number 1. Oh, man. So Austin Reeves, number 1, D'Angelo Russell, number 2, and then Ja Morant, number 3. I don't know that I love having both of those guys in such high exposures. I'll probably cut back a little on both, but those are currently Reeves, Russell, Morant.
Same for me. So I think, especially Morant as a pay-up option here, he looked to be fairly healthy in the last game. That's an understatement. He played 42 minutes and scored 78.75 DraftKings points. I think he should be good to go. All those point guards look good to me, particularly Austin, D'Angelo Russell and Ja Morant. D'Angelo Russell, like I said, I think that it's kind of crazy that people might write him on and be like, Austin Reeves just gets all of the role on offense now. If D'Angelo Russell makes his shots, he's only $400 more expensive than Austin Reeves. I think there's more upside in him. Shooting guard, what are you doing with the chalky Dillon Brooks at the shooting guard position?
Currently, I have the most of Dillon Brooks. I might cut back on how much I have, and then it's Reeves and Russell again.
Yeah, Dillon Brooks, Russell also in there, ones that I like quite a bit. Small forward. We also got Dillon Brooks with eligibility there behind him. Who do you like the most at small forward?
Okay, so I just made an adjustment to try to get to a little bit of Max Strus, and currently he is my number 2. I'm going to cut back a little bit, but I imagine it'll still be LeBron, maybe Caleb Martin. Yeah, I'm trying to mix in some of these cheap Heat guys, trying to get to a little bit more of them, but I don't know that I want 34% Strus, so he might not end up in my top 3.
Dillon Brooks, Jimmy Butler. If you want to be contrarian at small forward, Caleb Martin. Power forward, what are you looking at there?
Jared Vanderbilt, Kevin Love, Triple J.
Yeah, Kevin Love, especially now he's confirmed starting. One of the better value plays we have in both FanDuel and DraftKings. He's older. He's not the same guy he once was. Still a decent enough fantasy producer. If you want to be contrarian at power forward, look at Giannis. Giannis, I think, is going overlooked, and he's underpriced today. Center, who stands out the most to you there?
So once again, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, and Anthony Davis.
Yep, I'm going to echo a lot of those sentiments. Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo. I know that we got that one question about people, when do we stop playing Bam Adebayo? Not when he actually appears to be putting up fantasy points. So I know that he's not going out and scoring 60 or anything like that. The results, though, not all that bad for Bam Adebayo. I definitely think that he's worth playing at that center spot there. We've got Jay Bravo, 99, Johnny Bravo himself. Best 3 players, 4,400 and below at any position on FanDuel. Let's see. So I know Kevin Love is one of them because I got that before.
So many FanDuel questions today.
Kevin Love is one. Gabe Vincent is another. And Jared Vanderbilt. I think all 3 of those make sense. By the way, I'm happy you didn't ask me for 4 because it kind of, well, Dennis Schroeder would also be viable. But yeah, Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Kevin Love. I feel pretty good about those 3 being my answer. So Jay Bravo. I assume it's Johnny. I've never asked him his actual name. I just say Johnny Bravo.
That's the cartoon, right? Johnny Bravo?
Yeah, the guy with the slick back hair.
Is it also the name of the guy on Entourage? Or is that a different name? I forget.
No, Johnny Drama.
Johnny Drama. That's right.
Yeah. Johnny Drama. Kind of has Johnny Bravo energy about him, though.
True. Yeah. Not that I've ever seen Johnny Bravo, so I don't really know, but like I kind of have an idea.
Really, I would have thought that would have been your wheelhouse. Like, what did you watch as a kid?
What did I watch? I mean, I watched a lot of The Simpsons. Like, how young would I be to watch it? Like, what age is that show for?
Like 10 or something like that.
So, like, was I still watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Maybe I watched Saturday morning cartoons. I don't know if I was still watching it when I was 10. Yeah, I don't know. What was I watching when I was 10? I have to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're asking me, I don't know. You would know better than
You don't know? You don't know what I was watching?
No, I don't know. I was watching Pokemon. I was probably past Power Rangers at that point. Pokemon was a big one for me. Yeah, Power Rangers was probably done by the time I was 10. By the way, that reboot that they put up on Netflix looks absolutely terrible.
I didn't see it.
Oh, it looks
terrible. I never watched it anyway. Yeah.
Neil watched the History Channel when he was 10.
Yeah, that's right. The History Channel. That's why I know nothing about history. My trivia teammates can tell you.
Next super chat is from Brajal. Brajal, congrats on the win, Greg. King of future betting. Time for a shoey. I'm not allowed to drink. I'm not allowed to. Chad Oswald, last man in on DK, Russell or Tillman? Some of these questions become so, and by the way, not an illegitimate question at all. It's just funny to think 2 months ago, somebody would have asked you, like, hey, would you rather play D'Angelo Russell or Xavier Tillman tonight?
Yeah.
The answer for me is D'Angelo Russell. But part of that, too, it just kind of shows what some of the, recent events could change how we view players, particularly from a fantasy standpoint. But D'Lo over Tillman for me. How about yourself?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the rest of your lineup because D'Lo clearly projects better, but he's also coming in at 41% ownership. So if you are contrarian in like a couple other spots in your lineup, maybe you can eat the chalk on the 41% D'Lo. Clearly is like likely to put up a bigger score. But I mean, I do really like Xavier Tillman. He's coming in at just 16.6% ownership, projects a few fantasy points worse. So I can't like say you should play Xavier Tillman, but in a GPP, I'm going to be above weight to the field on Xavier Tillman. I'm probably going to be close to the field on D'Lo as well.
Okay, so D'Lo is the answer there, and then super chats questions flowing in today. Love it. Thank you for the engagement, guys, dude. And also, it helps us kind of direct the show because for me, when I see your guys' question, it kind of knows what it is you guys want me to talk about. Now, maybe that's just who are the best FanDuel value plays every 3 minutes, but whatever your guys' input is, I always do like to hear what it is that's on your mind you want me to talk about on shows here. My filler arc. Ingles or Robinson for low-end DK? Duncan Robinson. Joe Ingles is certainly going to remain in the rotation, but his role takes a hit with Giannis back. Duncan Robinson, I know he isn't starting, but if the Heat get behind in this game, he's somebody they turn to get more three-point shooting. It's a volatile play. It's not safe at all, but in the nature of kind of, it seems you're saying low-end DK, looks like you're looking for somebody who's a punt play, maybe a little bit of upside, isn't all that popular. Duncan Robinson. How about yourself, Neil? Duncan Robinson or Joe Ingles?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have more of Duncan Robinson also. I guess no, that's currently I have zero of both, I believe. If I were going to play just one of them, yeah, it'd be Duncan Robinson just because they have a shorter rotation there in Miami, and I think Duncan Robinson is likelier to be a part of the rotation and to pick up like real minutes. So yeah, it would have to be Duncan Robinson. I am going to end up getting to some Duncan Robinson. I don't think I'm going to end up getting to any Joe Ingles.
The Maharishi, Neil is old like me and can't remember being a kid.
Accurate. I remember like,
what did you look like as a kid? Because so the main reason I ask is like I can't imagine you without a beard.
Yeah. What did I look like? I looked a lot like I do now, except for without a beard. No, that's not true. I look nothing like even when I was 20, I didn't look anything like I look like now. Like people from my college, if they saw me, probably wouldn't recognize me. So I looked like a kid, I guess. Just like a kid, with dark hair.
Just a standard kid. He looked like Ralph. He looked like Ralph Wiggum. That was
exactly Ralph Wiggum.
Yeah, try to make sure that there was because I know because we do know that's the one show you watched as a kid. So
I did watch The Simpsons. Yeah.
Got a super. Oh no, answered that one. So let me go into Discord and we've got anything in there to answer for you guys. We do. We've got some questions here from a lot of people. Gavin Williams, last question. Who do you play out of these? Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Grayson Allen, or Duncan Robinson for FanDuel? I like Caleb Martin the most of those guys. Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Grayson Allen, Duncan Robinson. I have Caleb Martin the most exposure. Next question from Nicola, 92. Do you guys like Lowry today? I have exposure to, I do have exposure to Lowry. let me see. What is his? He is 48% owned on FanDuel, which I think is a little bit too high. On DraftKings, Lowry is 31%, which I think is a little bit too high. So he's so popular, and within some good reason, I think he's worth getting to on both sides. I just am underweight to both of those numbers, both the nearly 50% on DraftKings, or the nearly 50% on FanDuel, and the just over 30% on DraftKings. Do you imagine you're going to be under or overweight to the field on Lowry, or about even?
I'm currently just a little bit underweight to the field on Lowry. I imagine, let's see, I just ran another crunch. Let's see. Now I'm a little bit more underweight. So I'm about half the field currently. I think I'm comfortable with that if I end up about half the field.
Einsteinium wants to know our thoughts on Chris Middleton tonight. Definite downgrade for him with Giannis being back in the mix. He's still, fairly reasonably priced, so he's worth getting exposure to. But relative to it being a 2-game slate, it's not a priority. Even relative to his ownership, I'm underweight to the field on Chris Middleton. And then is it okay to play D'Lo and Schroeder in the same lineup for a 2-game slate? I don't sweat too much about the different player combinations. So D'Lo and Schroeder, fine together. Neil, Chris Middleton, is he somebody that you're getting a decent amount of exposure to? I'm underweight to him personally.
I think I might end up above the field on Chris Middleton at 7,500, just because it's so hard to find value. Like I'm trying to mix in some more mid-range plays as well, but I'm not going crazy with it. Like he's projected for 29% ownership. I currently have 32%, so I'm not trying to go like well above the field on Chris Middleton, but on a slate that lacks any like great value plays, I want to get to some Chris Middleton. I think that the field has it about right at about 29%.
3 Windy One City wants to know who the fuck is Ehrenberg Greg. That is me.
Who the fuck is he?
Yeah. Who the fuck is that? Yeah, it's me. The Black Mamba 81. What are the 5 top plays on DraftKings? So as of now, Neil, who are the 5 players you overall have the most exposure to on DK? Any position the Black Mamba wants to know.
All right, let me get to the top here.
Just wants to know the top 5 plays.
Currently for me, it is Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, Dylan Brooks, Bam Adebayo, and man, I just got to a ton of Anthony Davis, which I didn't do anything to get there. So those are currently my top 5. Anthony Davis must project well for us, getting above the field.
For me, it is Brooks, it is Kevin Love, it is D'Angelo Russell, Bam Adebayo, and Giannis now. I really did what I could to try to force Giannis into more lineups, which I think is a generally good practice at this price point.
I agree. And I gave boosts to, maybe I'm going to have to boost him a little bit, both Giannis and LeBron. I don't want to have, like, currently I'm at 47% Anthony Davis, and that's without, I've already given some boost to both LeBron and Giannis. Yeah, maybe I'll still end up above the weight to the field on Brow.
And then we got a question here from Basti G. Is 2 payups on DK above 10K a suboptimal build? Well, so what you're asking is it okay to play Giannis and LeBron in the same line? Because those are the only 2 players priced over 10K. I don't have an issue with it. The salary is a little bit tight, but it's not crazy to think that LeBron and Giannis both have ceiling games. And relative to what we know about LeBron and Giannis, these are not exorbitant price tags. So I don't have an issue with playing both of them in the same lineup.
I would have to look at what actual lineups look like if you play both of them, because they might be gross, but yeah, I don't think I have an issue with it either.
Next question is from Sick Mosh. Bam and Russell or Morant and Tillman? This is a cash question. Bam and Russell or Morant and Tillman? I'm going to say Bam and Russell. Just for cash, it's always hard for me to know kind of what Tillman's minutes.
Oh, this is a cash question. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's the right answer for cash. Closer question for a GPP, I think.
I mean, the last 3 games, it's just so far all over the place for Tillman. Like, I know he played, and by the way, they're escalating. Game 1, he played 22 minutes. Game 2, 32. Game 3, he played 39 minutes. I don't assume he keeps getting like 10 extra minutes per game. He gets up to 49 this game. But it's just really hard. I assume like somewhere around 30 is a reasonable expectation for him. He's also gotten to be a little bit pricier now. I'm going to go with Bam and Russell. I know that Bam, we've talked about him a few times now. Even though he hasn't been having these games where he scores like 50 fantasy points, outside of that one blowout, he has been fairly safe. Yep. Miami High Life course, Miami High Life. He's asking us a question about a Miami Heat player. He wants to know Duncan Robinson or Jared Vanderbilt. That is Vanderbilt for me.
Yeah, I'm going to have more exposure to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vando for sure. Now we've got a question here. Rolling in. Continue to roll in. Madden, 1084. What will Pat Connaughton's minutes look like, and will he be an okay play for FanDuel? I do not like Pat Connaughton today. As for the minutes, let's see. We have Connaughton projected for 13 minutes. Giannis is back. It's just hard to think that he plays a massive role. It's possible, right? He comes off the bench. He makes some shots. They ride the hot hand. It's a playoff game. But I don't find the most likely scenario to be that he plays big minutes.
Yeah, we're not projecting for big minutes. Currently, I have 0 Pat Connaughton still. I'm a little bit like uncomfortable with it because he is coming at 3% ownership, and I'm going to feel like an idiot if he does smash. But I think the best case you can make for him is maybe Giannis is limited, can't play a full game. Maybe they'd be quicker to pull Giannis in a blowout because he's a little bit banged up, but still don't think I'm getting there.
Oh, Anthony DLC, this is a very rude question. Cash game, tough question. Eric's mom or Emac hand favors. So here's what he doesn't understand. Emac is also Eric. I know he means Eric Lindquist, but Emac's going to be our future president. That's always going to be my answer.
Don't disrespect the president.
Yeah, you don't disrespect.
He gives great hand jobs under the bridge.
Emac 2024. Emac all day. Another question in here. So now, three windy, one city. Now he knows who I am. He wants to ask another question. Vincent, Lowry, Love, or Allen for Showdown. Of all those players, I get to Kevin Love the most in all formats. I really like Kevin Love now. I liked him before. Now he's confirmed starting. Just like him even more.
Yeah, I'm so it's tough because I'm a little bit skeptical that Kevin Love can stay in there, but also if he does get to like 20 minutes, he's going to look pretty good. So I do have him in 47% of my lineups right now. I'm probably going to stick with it, but I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it.
Hat Clay Tomstar, which player do you want to perform the worst? Okay, so I mean, I'll ask you this question a different way, Neil. Who is the player that you are the most underweight to the field to for the slate?
Looks like Kyle Lowry currently coming in at 28% ownership. I have 11% right now.
I'm underweight to Lowry as well. I think that's a pretty good answer. Let's see. Who else would it be for me? On the high end, I mean, it's not like I'm totally off any of those guys. Drew Holiday, another one. I know that Holiday isn't all that popular, but I'm hardly getting to him at all. And he is projected for nearly 20% ownership. So Drew Holiday is one. With LeBron, I mean, with Giannis back, it's hard for me to pay up for Drew, and the field is still kind of doing it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Drew in your lineups at all, really?
I have 11%.
Still
right
underweight.
now. Yeah.
Still underweight. I thought I saw a super chat. Yeah, we do have some super chats here. This one is a super chat here from 3 Windy City. Now, thanks. Riding Love. So we got 3 Windy City playing Kevin Love today. There we go. He's on board. So yeah, Kevin Love, going to be a Kevin Love night for myself as well. Hopefully he doesn't suck because I've mentioned his name on the show 10, 12 times now. So
many times.
But it would certainly be a bummer if he ended up shitting the bed after that. Next question is from Madden 1084. Jared Vanderbilt or Kevin Love? That is Kevin Love for me. Yourself?
It'd be Jared Vanderbilt for me, I think.
Okay. Jay wants to know Showdown for the late game. So I have lineups built out here. The captain I got to the most was Ja Morant. In the utility, still, I think LeBron, AD, Ja Morant, all good utility plays. As far as cheaper options go, Malik Beasley, not somebody to be considering on the main slate, but we've got him projected just south of 10 fantasy points. Not all that bad looking when he's only 2,000 in that kind of context. Dylan Brooks looks really good in Showdown, as does Jared Vanderbilt. So that's the way I kind of look at it. Some of those cheap guys that are going to be in the rotation, they just mix and match them with the likes of Anthony Davis, Ja Morant, LeBron James. I'm a little bit lighter on Jaren Jackson Jr. just because I prefer AD, Morant, and LeBron in that game. And then we've got Gangrene wants to know tiers. Yep, we'll go back over to tiers. Players I got the most at each tier. Tier 1, Giannis. Tier 2, Jimmy Butler. Tier 3, Bam Adebayo. Tier 4, Brook Lopez. Tier 5, Dylan Brooks. And then Tier 6, Jared Vanderbilt.
I will say that I'm getting to some Malik Beasley on the main slate in my 60 lineups. I don't know that it's smart. Like, I don't know that, why in my mind he's a little bit different than like the Joe Ingles, but I'm like, I can just picture Malik Beasley, getting hot, playing in blowout run, make a few threes, and I just put him in for like 12 fantasy points, and I'm still getting to some. I'm getting actually above the field at 8%, but I don't know that that's actually. I might be biased. Maybe that's my Timberwolves bias because I've seen him do it so much. I'm like, yeah, I could see him, coming in, getting hot in just a few minutes. We've only got him projected for 12 minutes, and that's a little bit lower than he has played. I guess he played 12. He's been 10 to 12 to 14 in the past 3 games. So I'm factoring in a little bit, but he also only put up 2.5 fantasy points in the last game. He has done absolutely nothing so far in the series. So, yeah.
For Showdown, though, I mean, he was the value play I got the most of for Showdown purposes. And yeah, I mean, these are really shitty box scores. 2.5 fantasy points, 7.5, 0.75 less than 1. But honestly, for this particular Showdown slate, 7.5 fantasy points, which you did 2 games ago, fairly live to get Malik Beasley into an optimal line for only $2,000, where you are hurting for value. And you've got so many studs in that game. Mentioned again, John Moran, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Jaren Jackson Jr. You're going to need studs in your lineup at some point, and you just aren't going to be able to get to those guys without some sort of shitty, cheap value plays. And that's where Malik Beasley comes into the play. And somebody had asked a question in Discord, but it just got deleted. So only a couple minutes left to go here. It's going to build out some lineups using the lineup generator, but we just kind of ran out of time because we had all your guys' super chats to answer. But if you guys want to sign up for our lineup generator, use the link below in the description box. This is the easiest way that you guys are going to be able to build lineups quickly using the tools we have over at Stokastic.com. It's using our simulations. It's using our player projections, ownership projections to give you lineups that we are projecting to finish towards the top of GPPs over time. So it's a tool that if you just blindly use it, it is going to help you make money in the long run. And it's also the cheapest offering that we have over at Stokastic.com. If you're signing up using the link below for the first time, you can get access to that for less than $5. Neil, we've got like 30 seconds left to go here. Any final thoughts on the slate? Anything we didn't hit on that you want to let the people know about?
I think that we hit on every relevant stand that I'm taking. Malik Beasley was the last one that I was like, yeah, I'm going to play a little bit. Maybe I should mention it. But yeah, for the most part, I think that we hit on everything that we needed to.
All right. So that is going to do it for us. If you guys have not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I hope you guys have a great night. I hope we all win some money. Enjoy the games tonight. See you guys back here tomorrow.